Hi, this is Steffi and welcome to the FinancialFox. Today on the show I have Azeem Khan, Head of Impact at Gitcoin. For the people that don't know, Gitcoin is an institution in the blockchain space. Since 2017, Gitcoin have distributed over 50 million to early stage builders and founders supporting the development of their project across DeFi, NFT, DAO, open source, and many other industries. They have been building the tools that enable communities to build and fund their project. And that is so important in Web3. I mean, raising fund, getting support when you are such an early stage of your venture is super important. He has met different kind of founders, and today we are going to discuss what are the quality that makes a Web3 project successful, the challenges, and also different initiatives that is involved. They are trying to help founders to bring their idea and their project to life. And I thought this conversation was super interesting. Azeem is all over the world, traveling everywhere, meeting interesting people, and he's sharing some really good insight. And we had a very interesting chat. Before we go into the show, if you're not subscribed to our YouTube channel, click the subscribe button now and follow us on social media to stay up to date with our news and interviews. Before we get into the interview, let's take a moment to talk about our sponsor, EMG. EMG is a Web3 telecom super app that aims to be the first to revolutionize the way you interact with digital assets on your smartphone. Instead of switching between multiple apps, you just need to download one. The all-in-one EMG Super App is your one-stop destination for instant messaging, video calls, e-commerce, travel, money transfer, and many other exciting features. So with EMG app, you can stay connected with your loved one, send money, pay your bills, book a taxi, shop the latest product, and even build your own digital store, all in one place. Can it be the next switch out or Amazon? Well, watch this space. Hi Azeem, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. It's great to have you on the show.
It took us a little bit of time because I've been traveling a lot to get this set up, but I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. I know. It's nowadays doing business is most of them is actually done at conferences.
It definitely is. My schedule, I spent time in Dubai already this year, Saudi Arabia, Colorado, Boston, DC. I'm based in New York, so New York City. I'm actually headed there in a few hours. I just got back from Montenegro for Zuzulu, that Vitalik hosted, which was an amazing experience, super interesting. I have Paris coming up, Singapore, Berlin, Hong Kong, Greece, Turkey, and I think Dubai again for the remainder of the year, and that's only what's already planned.
Fantastic. Well, we should compare notes a bit about conference. It will be really good to catch up in person. So,
I would love to.
Let's get started. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the Web3 space.
Absolutely. So I got into crypto about a decade ago now. I'd been spending time back in 2012. I was applying to medical schools. I have a bachelor's and a master's in biology. I was working at a company where I was doing work on sequencing antibodies, and I was in the middle of med school applications, and I'd been spending a bunch of time on Twitter, and I just was reading about the Bitcoin people and monetary theory and what is money and what is a Bitcoin and what is at the time what Bitcoin was being used for. And I wasn't really buying anything. It was just intellectually very interesting. And then in 2013, I ended up becoming a contributor for the Huffington Post as a result of having run the Boston Marathon that had the bombings. And so because of that, I ran the race, thankfully was not injured, decided I didn't want to go to medical school, and I ended up writing an article for the HuffPost about anti-Islamophobia because I was like, I'm a Muslim American who is a victim and not a suspect in these things. Let's not point fingers right now. And so I had this platform, and later in the year, I found that the New York City Bitcoin Center was opening, and I had met the founders of it, and they asked me if I would be willing to do an article about it. And so I did a New Year's party, or I went to a New Year's party that they were hosting in 2013, and I got to meet a bunch of early Bitcoin people and watch them, all drunk at midnight trading Bitcoin when Bitcoin was like $500 or something like that, just like using QR codes back and forth. And I was like, this is fascinating. Like, it was just the people, the characters, like, it was just a fascinating time. So I was like, I want to learn more about this. And then in early 2014, as a joke and a troll, I tried launching something called Kim Coindashian. And I got a lot of press for it, and then I got a cease and desist for it as well afterwards. And like shut it down, but was like, this is interesting. Like at the time, there was no Ethereum or ERC20 that I could have even launched a token. And then just like sort of stayed interested. In 2017, I was doing buying and selling of stuff that was going on during the ICO boom. And in 2019, I learned what NFTs were, and I tried raising money for a crypto gaming company. And every VC at the time was like, crypto and gaming don't go together. You have to pick one. And then 2020, I almost ended up joining OpenSea. I was potentially going to be one of their first like non-founding employees, but they weren't hiring for non-technical at the time. We realized like at the end of interviewing, and ended up working at a company that was like Pokemon Go for sneakerheads. It was a mobile game called Aglet, where you would collect sneakers and earn in-game currencies. Very much a crypto like thesis, but it wasn't crypto at the time. And we were working on metaverse related things, which was, the hot topic during the middle of when COVID was going on. And we helped launch I was head of growth and partnerships there. We ended up launching what was Gucci's first foray into the metaverse. We worked with Puma and Adidas and different sneaker brands on doing different things. And then in early 2021, I decided, I'm going to go more of the founder route, and raised money for a crypto Kickstarter. Essentially, it was a crowdfunding platform for creators, and built a product, launched a product. We had launched a token. I got to learn about how doing SAFTs work. I got to learn about what KOLs are and market makers and liquidity pools and like all these things when I had no idea what was going on. And I did that for all of 2021, and then towards the end of the year, it just wasn't working, And I wanted to build more than I wanted to focus on just token price. And so I ended up leaving in December of 2021 from this startup. And I spent a couple months just doing different consulting work with brands or agencies that wanted to understand Web3. I had done Kernel, which is a spinoff from Gitcoin. It's this like amazing 8-week structured learning environment for Web3. It's the best thing that I've come across when it comes to the Web3 space. I encourage like anyone who's looking at this to like even go look. They have their
I did.
You did? Which one?
I think it was 2021, I think.
Which block were you? I was at KB5. Do you remember?
I think it was a bit after that.
Okay. But yeah, like I ended up doing that, and I had met the founder of Gitcoin at the time, Scott Moore, there. And after it was done, I was like, I want to raise money for like a decentralized DeFi protocol that's like focused on social impact. And so like you do all the staking and the restaking and small business loans and things like that, but I want to like have it so that there's an impact angle. And I spoke to him about it, and he was like, I'm happy to help you with that, but would you like to come join the team? We need help on the partnership side. And so that's how I got to Gitcoin. And now it's been 14 months, something like that, which in DAO time is like, I'm like, been here for a decade. And just like,
It's great that it all started with running a marathon. And, in a way, all this kind of like crypto and Web3 is really like running a marathon. And the key skills is resilience, is, going through it. And there are times where you want to give up, where you can't go forward because of money, because, bear market and everything, but you need to keep going, keep moving.
You know what's funny? I tried running the Boston Marathon this year because it was the 10-year anniversary, and I got injured 2 weeks before the race. I messed up my knee, but I ran for the same charity as I did in 2013 with the American Liver Foundation, and I had partnered with Giving Block to be able to accept donations in crypto. The minimum fundraise was $8,500. I ended up raising over $11,500 total for them, but I raised three-quarters of it in crypto. And I still need to actually find some time because the American Liver Foundation at the time, they told me that they had never raised money in crypto before. And this was just like a fascinating new thing that they wanted to better understand, because here I was raising thousands and thousands of dollars in crypto and never raised money in crypto. So even though I wasn't able to run the race, it was still like a really positive thing that came out of it, I think.
Yeah. So talking about being a founder in Web3, I mean, through all the work that you are doing with Gitcoin, all the experience that you have in the past, and also we can come later to the Binance Build the Block, new reality TV as well. Obviously, you are meeting lots of founders, and what I would like to ask you is, what are the key qualities that you see in those people that, as an investor, or, even with Gitcoin, as somebody that can provide support, you will say, yes, I can bet on this person?
Honestly, I think there's so many people in this space. That's such a great question, because like I tend to be around a lot of builders. When we were out at Zuzulu, there were so many awesome builders that were putting things together, and my DMs on Twitter and in my Telegram tend to be filled with them as well. Honestly, one of the biggest things I look for is like young people who don't really realize what's not possible. Like you have to like believe the impossible can be done, because not just Web3, but just in general, like you have to turn like an idea into what could be this like massive idea. And so while I think like a lot of statistics tend to show that later stage founders tend to do better. If you're like a 40-year-old founder, the statistics say that you're more likely to do better than a 20-year-old founder. I think in Web3, it's going to be the exact opposite, because we're reimagining how the internet is going to work tomorrow. And so like anyone who has spent time in media, let's say, their idea of what media will look like tomorrow is completely different than a 20-year-old who is reimagining what media could look like, as someone who's, a digitally native person, grew up without or only with smartphones their entire lives, and, coding has been natural to them. And they've, it's so interesting. Like there's this place where I've found, and even for like my age, I'm 35, but even when I was at that company, Aglet, and I used to have conversations with investors, potential partners, and I found that there was like this place at the time. I found that it was around 40 years old, and I would speak to people who were like high up executives, and they would look at me and they'd go, wait, so you're selling me a digital sneaker and it costs this much money. Do I get a physical too? And I was like, no, you get a digital item. I'm like, why would I want to pay for just a digital item? And then I would go to our Discord, where there were a bunch of teenage and early 20s young men and women as well. And I would speak to them, and they would say like, oh, I want to make sure that you guys don't release another batch so that we can make sure the scarcity is there. And when are you going to be releasing the marketplace? Because I know that if I got the number one sneaker of the batch of 250, it's going to end up being worth more than the number 25 or 35 or something. So their intuitive understanding of digital, like economies of like digital goods, was like far beyond the comprehension of people who are just a little older, who couldn't even put it together. So that like that unique way, or that open way of viewing the world, I'd say is the biggest thing that I look for. It's like a spark in their eyes that you can see.
Yeah. Quick break and back to our sponsors. The EMG SuperApp include an NFT marketplace and a selection of e-games that helps you to earn as you play. EMG partners with Polygon, which makes transactions super affordable, and it is powered by EMG Coin, a utility token that is used to facilitate transaction within the app. Spending in the SuperApp get you rewards and access to exclusive deals. EMG is funded and supported by Melody Group, which has been providing technology services to the world's largest telecommunication company and partnering with household names for over 20 years. The group employs over 20 highly experienced software engineers, and it has millions of active users worldwide. EMG is revolutionizing the global network of communication infrastructures. And if you like to find out more, the links are in the description. Is that imagination maybe is great. So tell me, and I do agree with you, because working with older people, you have got different kind of skills, and you find yourself in different kind of situation. When you are working with younger people, then there is something that is not explainable, and maybe there are challenges that they need, like boundaries that you have to put, but there is kind of fire that can tell you, right, everything can be possible. So that's a really, really good point, because we are trying to not rationalize it too much, right? And that's what innovation is about.
I met, when I was out at Zuzalo, I met a young founder who helped start Penn Blockchain, like UPenn Blockchain. And they have put together a DAO structure themselves. They have raised over $500,000 to help be able to bring different students from within the school to conferences and things like that. And they have gotten delegations for votes from DAOs of, I think they said there was over 40 top DAOs. They have delegations worth over $300 million. And they're like 20 years old, 21 years old. And I look at these kids and I talk to them. I'm like, I was such an idiot at like 20 or 21. And so like to see the potential that's possible by just like nudging them in the right directions, like to be like, the things that they can accomplish like are unimaginable, right? Because like compared to when I'm like where I was at that age and how I've been able to work out fine, but like was nowhere near like this level of like aptitude that I continue to find with some of these young founders.
Is amazing. So tell me a bit about Gitcoin. So Gitcoin is a DAO, and I want to ask you, how that works and why is important this DAO structure, and has been funding startup in Web3 for many, many years. I mean, me and you as well, we have been alumni or contributors, let's say, but it was going on, and big founders also. I think I was introduced by the founder of Matic. So they were also in a way involved with Gitcoin and many other projects that founders. They actually started a venture afterwards, after doing a Gitcoin program. So tell me a little bit about what's the key success of Gitcoin, and how has managed to deliver so much money to founders, and how has managed to remain an institution in Web3 evolution.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a DAO that has for years now been using a democratic method of capital allocation to be able to put money in the hands of builders in the Web3 ecosystem. And so how quadratic funding works is that people vote where they feel a matching pool of money should go. And so let's say we raise money for a climate round, and we've raised $100,000 for that round. We set criteria as to who is able to apply to this round, like what qualifies you to be part of the climate round. And some of those things include not having raised over a certain amount of money, or there's different qualifications that we set for each of the rounds. But we raise money, and it's part of what I do at Gitcoin is help go to the large companies in the ecosystem, whether it's Nouns DAO or Coinbase or Polygon or Yearn, different organizations that will give us funding towards the things that they feel are important. 1inch supports our Ethereum infrastructure and open source software rounds all the time, just because those are things that are important to them. And so we go from there and we put together this matching pool of capital. And then we run grants rounds once every quarter, and they go on for about 2 weeks. And during these grants rounds, we have our community come in and vote where they think the money should go. And so the organizations that give us the funds don't get to decide which builders get the money, and we don't get to decide which builders get the money either. We end up having the community come in and vote with their dollars. And how this works is they make a transaction of at least $1 towards grants that they like during the open grants rounds. And a matching amount from this quadratic funding formula gets added to the amount that they donate. So it ends up being this 1 plus X denomination where their $1 donation can have an outsized impact on whichever grant they choose to give to. This past round was a little tough. Gas fees were really high. It ended up messing with the ability for people to donate. Next time we're going to go in, we're definitely going to be using an L2 and make sure that we can make it much more affordable for people who are trying to donate. Because if you're trying to donate $5 and the gas costs you $25, it doesn't actually work out all that well. But everything that was going on with the Pepe coin stuff, like, just had clogged the network completely. But ideally, how it works is that your $1 can actually have this sort of an outsized impact. And we've been doing this for years now. We started this in 2018. The first grants round had only $38,000 in total matching pools across everything. And since then, now, in total, we have given or distributed over $50 million in grants for organizations in the Web3 ecosystem. And some of the success stories include Uniswap and Optimism and Yearn Finance and Gnosis, Wallet Connect, POAP, MakerDAO, Bankless. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. It's honestly surprising when I look at like how long the list of successful projects. 1inch was one of our grantees at one point, and they credit the funding that they were able to get with what they've been able to accomplish to date. So they graduated to being a funder. And that's always awesome to see, as organizations who at one point were ones that had to get funds from us and are now in a position where they want to give back. But it's a really cool thing to be able to work on.
Yeah, amazing. And you have been recently involved with Build a Block, an initiative from Binance.
Yes.
It's kind of doing similar things. It's got a few well-known judges, and is the first Web3 reality TV assessing, different kind of Web3 new project. And there are, you are one of the judges. So tell me, why Build a Block, and how is how has been the experience so far? You have run a few episodes, I think, and how is going? I will be curious.
It was honestly such an honor to be included, especially when I look at the other judges that are on the show. I mean, Yi, who's one of the co-founders of Binance and oversees Binance Labs, and she's the CMO of Binance. Like, when it comes to successful people in the Web3 ecosystem, she's literally at like the top of the top, right? And then Robbie Young, CEO of Animoca, is like a massive, massive deal. I've had so many friends message me since, being like, wait, you're a judge on the same stage where Robbie's a judge? And I'm like, right? Like it's just, I'm like very confident about the things that I have accomplished, but I'm just like, objectively, like, they are such successful people. And so it was like such an honor. Guy Turner, who runs Coin Bureau and has, millions of subscribers on YouTube and has been doing this for a long time. Ibo Ling, who's the chief business officer at Binance. And so just being able to be included was like so cool. What's funny is that I have never actively watched a reality TV show, and I'm the one who, like, in my friend group, always makes fun of my friends who are watching reality TV. I'm just like, what are you watching? And so the idea that I'm on even though it's a metaverse reality TV show, it's still a reality TV show. Like, the irony has not, like, gone over my head at all. But it was really cool getting to see these companies where it was really tough. Figuring out how to decide amongst these, like, amazing founders who were presenting projects where it was clear that so much vetting had been done among these 12 projects. It wasn't like it was just a bunch of random companies, and trying to understand, using the format that we had and the amount of information that we had and the time with the founders that we had, what we could actually get from them to make the votes that we could. It was tough, but it was cool. And honestly, since then, it's been making me think about other opportunities that I would be able to, like, take part in on the content side that would be able to help founders. The other cool thing was they brought a lot of really, really interesting people into the crowd. And so while we've only sort of like, spoken about who the judges are and who the founders are, they had VCs, they had media people, they had all these people that were also avatars in the crowd. And so since I did the show, I've had people reach out. I'm like, I have no idea who this person is, but like this really successful person at the agency who helped sign Cristiano Ronaldo's Binance deal is reaching out to me, like, why? And then we get on a call and they're like, oh, I saw you were on Build the Block. And oh, wow. So yeah.
Amazing, amazing,
Yeah.
great opportunity as well for any founders.
Yeah.
So any founder listening at this interview, if you have an idea, reach out to Azeem, check out Build the Block, and
Please.
also Gitcoin as well, because the quote is an experience, is something that
Yeah.
everybody interested in Web3 should actually experience. Azeem, it's been a pleasure having you on the show, and I would love to have you back in the future. And maybe
I'd love to.
a bit more about the new venture you're taking part, what is going on with, Web3, and, funding is always, is a key element of building anything, but it also can be quite challenging, especially in a bear market. So well
Yeah.
done on, keeping up the great work at Gitcoin, and also finding this new engaging way, even with Build the Block, to keep funding great ideas.
Yeah, thank you so much. Being able to do the work that we do, especially in the bear market, to get funding in the hands of these builders is super important to us, just from a mission perspective. And so I'm fortunate to be able to help do that.